one gentleman who was a young entrepreneur. He was building houses, but he was really struggling. He started to have panic attacks and he was disorganized and his perceptions were off, his judgments were off, and things were collapsing for him. And the businesses started to collapse. So I said, well, let's look at what's going on. How come you rushed ahead with buying 20 houses and you should have just bought two? Let's look at that. He says, I always wanted my father's approval. I never had it. I thought if I was grand and making all this money, he would love me and I'd finally get the satisfaction.
Welcome to Operational Harmony, Balancing Business and Mental Well-Being, a podcast with honest discussions about professional life and mental well-being in a natural conversational way. Your host is Nikki, founder of Nikki's Office, where she supports entrepreneurs through operations, systems, and strategy. And now, let's hear from our guest. Disclaimer: there are trigger warnings for this episode. For more information, check the description.
Sure. Hi, my name is Robert Bleck, and I am the victim and survivor of severe childhood abuse. And I'm also the creator of what's called Source Completion Therapy, which is a three-phase program designed to cleanse and heal deep emotional wounds.
Okay. So I experienced childhood traumas as well, a lot of different kinds. Can you tell me, I don't want to say how you got started because that's not what I mean, but I mean, like, where did the three-step process come from?
Sure. Well, it came from the beginning when I was abused, and then I went forward and I created a program for those I helped to heal and myself as well. So it really started when I was actually abused. And if you'd like to some of the details, if your audience is okay with that, I'd be glad to go into that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, starting at about the age of 3, I was beaten, I was degraded, and I was humiliated just about every day. My mother, who was the victim of abuse herself, was filled with anxiety, anger, rage, and that fury came out on me. When she would beat me, I was 3 years old when this started. I was just a little boy. She would do it sometimes with a solid fist and sometimes open hand. Sometimes whatever object she could reach, a shoe, a hanger. She liked a wooden spoon from the kitchen. She would hit me with that. And the belt particularly, she enjoyed that because the belt buckle would hurt more. So I would have little bumps. So, and then degrading, she did that every day, making me feel worthless and shamed. So one time she got really creative with her abuse, and it was in the middle of the night. I went into their bedroom, my parents' bedroom. I was scared of something, and she brought me back to my bed, and she began to tie me up to the bed. The ropes ran around and under the bed and tied me across my chest, which I could still visualize today. And I was terrified. Didn't know what was happening. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was being killed. I was 3, 4, maybe. So that was very painful for me. I mean, as I grew, I was terrified of the dark. I slept with a light on as I got older. And I bit my nails, to where they would bleed. And I was anxious, and scared. So by about the age of 9, I began to feel a deep compassion and sensitivity to others who were suffering in some way, whether it was a child being bullied at school, whether it was some injustice I witnessed or read about on TV or read about in books. And I didn't understand that other kids in my school didn't seem to feel the same way I did. So I wondered why. And it started to form in my mind that I wanted to do something to help humanity, actually, about 9 years old. So, but first what I had to do is I had to figure out a way to survive my mother. And then I had to figure out how to get to school and learn what I wanted to do. Moving forward a little bit, at about the age of 14, my mother was still trying to beat me at times. What I did, I had played sports, and that was helping me survive. I got involved in athletics, and I was talented. I played soccer and played hockey, which I did through college as well. And that gave me a camaraderie. It gave me a place of peace, and it gave me some hope. And then I also love nature. So nature was a comfort to me. I would get up early sunrise. I would watch the sunrise. And I would listen to the birds, and I actually felt they were singing to me. So it was giving me great comfort. So about this age, about 14, though, my mother would still beat me, and she came at me one time, and I held up my palm, like this and I said, "You can't do this anymore. You can't hit me. I am strong. I'm athletic now, and I will defend myself." She looked right into my eyes and for a second turned around, and that was the last time she hit me. So I planned and I went on to school, to college, and I decided still with the intention of helping others. I had a choice. I was able to get a scholarship. They didn't have much money, my parents, so I got an academic scholarship for tuition. So I had a choice. I was thinking of medicine, becoming a medical doctor, or psychology, becoming involved with psychology and mental and emotions, helping people with emotions. So I took both. I took both courses, both tracks, and the medicine didn't feel right. Psychology and the counseling felt much better for me. I was more comfortable in that. Went on to get a PhD, and I was trained in many therapies in the PhD program, including being therapy for myself, because I still had remnants of the abuse and still had pain inside and anger. So I went to the therapy and I went with the program in private therapy, and I felt no, it wasn't deep enough. I knew that I needed it to heal more. I wanted to be free of what was holding me back, the anger. I wanted to be of fears, be free of those fears. So I began to work at a university, and in the university, students, I was training them in how to be counselors and therapists. So at that time, I was getting a lot of referrals, and the people were asking me, would I heal them? Would I treat them? Would I see them in my practice, which I developed, it was small at the time. And I said, and they was telling me they were abused as children. So I said, let's give it a try. I'll be glad to do that. And what was happening, I guess it was successful because I kept getting more and more referrals, but I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't getting for the people that I was working with, I wasn't getting the long-term permanent healing that I wanted to get from them. And whatever therapy I was in wasn't deep enough for me too. So I tried to see what worked and what didn't with all of the therapies I knew, all the techniques I knew. And some did work, some didn't. And I put together a sequence that I thought was working, and it was working. It was called source completion therapy. It deals with three phases. The first is awareness. The second is called relive, re-experience, and release. And the third is called completion. Those three phases are really comprehensive. I can go into deeper about what they are when you'd like. And they were working. I was getting long-term results and permanent results, and I'm really proud of that. And I keep doing that. I've been doing this for decades. So was successful at that. And I healed myself and I healed others as well. So I'm proud of that. It's very rewarding for me.
Mhm. I'm sorry you went through that as a child, obviously. I'm glad you got the chance to stand up to her and say, yeah, it's not happening anymore. Not a lot of people get to be able to do that.
Thank you. Understood.
So with the therapies, the
Yes.
three different ones, and my brain won't let me say them off the top of my head because that's not how my brain works.
Mhm.
But so what happens during each of those?
Sure. Sure. So let me start at the beginning of how I saw everything and how it came together for me, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, the way I see it, excuse me, for the most part, we're all born pure, innocent, and just bursting with potential. For me, the essence of a baby, when I hold one, is perfect. Okay, they don't know hate, they don't know discrimination. What they want is to be loved and love in return. That's what they want. Now, I loved holding babies. I could hold one all day, and the innocence and purity is so fulfilling to me. I could just do that and be fulfilled. When friends around me have new babies or family members, they know, give it to Bob. Let it Bob hold the baby, and I just really enjoy it very much. One of the most pleasures that I enjoy the most. But here's the tricky part. Is as innocent and pure as we are, we still depend upon our caregivers. We depend upon them to feed us when they're hungry, change us when we're soiled. We depend on them to keep us safe in the world, keep us safe from electric sockets. Don't let us play out in traffic. Don't put us in cars that in the summertime that the windows are closed. We depend on that because we're basically helpless. And we also depend, as we grow a little bit, we depend on them to comfort us when we're frightened, comfort us when we're disappointed in life, and guide us a bit. So those three things are important, and that's what we trust our caregivers to do. Now, if they do the opposite, if they neglect our physical needs, if they degrade us, if they beat us, if they molest us, if they hurt us by not comforting us and encouraging us, all that potential of the newborn is tainted. And we have a whole bunch of feelings that are generated. When a person is abused and that trust is violated, most of the people, despite whatever abuse they went through, the feelings that are generated are very similar. They feel worthless. They feel inadequate. They feel defective. They feel rageful, angry, betrayed. They'll feel insignificant. They'll feel unimportant. They'll feel unloved, uncared for. Those are just some of them. Okay. So what happens is that it's not possible for a little child to process those feelings of betrayal. There's just too many of them, and they would go schizophrenic. That's what would happen. So our brains stuff them, they repress them, they suppress them as much as possible, and it helps the child to survive somewhat. Okay? They do that when they're young. And when they get older, though, what happens is as you grow and those feelings are still in, they fester inside of you, and they turn into a toxic emotional brew. Now, just like eating a bad meal and getting food poisoning, our subconscious wants these painful feelings out. So what happens is our conscious still doesn't want those feelings out. So they get channeled, they're being pushed out. The conscious says, no, go to somewhere else. It goes through an obsession, a phobia, a compulsion, eating disorders, anxiety disorders. If it gets really bad, it goes to depression. And let's see what else. This sort of panic, intense rage. People know road rage. You've seen that. That always comes from something inside of them that hasn't been dealt with. It doesn't come from someone cutting them off and not signaling. So, and usually that's not dealt with. When the newspapers deal with, oh, this guy got out of the car. They both got out. One guy shot the other one, going to hit him with a crowbar. And that's coming from deep place. They were probably hurt. I would be 98% certain that's what happened. So that those intense anger, the phobias, the anxiety disorders, I call them diversions because they're coming out, those feelings are coming, but they're going to divert us away from the true source of the feelings. And that was how we were hurt and, what happened in the specifics and all the feelings. So the first phase, I have to get these people, want them to get the awareness. Sometimes they come at me, they just come in with the symptoms. I have an eating disorder, and I've worked at. I've went to one woman came into me. I've went to everything. I've went to AA. I've went to psychiatrist. I've went to the therapist, and that's not helping. It's not helping. And I know this is separate from my childhood. So I said, well, it's probably not, but let's take a look at it. Okay, so tell me a little about your childhood, et cetera, et cetera. And she said, my father was distant to me. He pushed me away. He neglected me. And he was an alcoholic. And I felt the ice and the alcohol were more important than I was. So about 5 years old, I began at the middle of the night getting out of bed, and I went to the refrigerator and I made a cheese sandwich for me. And that was comforting for me. So I kept having to eat cheese sandwiches, and I ate other things, and I had a binge eating disorder. Okay. And I don't think it's related to my father, and I said, no, it is. Let's continue to go. And for a while, she had the eating disorder with me, and we kept working. I said, let's go back in time. I want you to relive this. This is the second phase. I want you to close your eyes, relax, and go back in time. I use hypnosis. I use self-hypnosis. I teach them, and visualizations. So I take her back to time, to seeing her father and visualizing and pushing her away. And then gradually, that was painful for her, but the eating disorder started to dissipate. And then in the third phase, this is just an example of how it occurs. I said, okay, now you need to go to your father. This is called the completion phase. And you need to tell him how you felt by what he did and how it affected you. So that was really hard for her. And this is a process that takes time. It's not rushed. I go at each person's pace because some are scared to continue each phase because it could be painful. And the last phase took her a while. She did it. She completed with her father. She wrote him a letter and she talked to him in person. And the eating disorder went away. And she says, I never thought this was possible. And to this day, she's healthy. She raised two healthy children because she didn't take out anger on them. And she's still grateful to me, and she talks about it with me. So that's just an example of someone going through those couple of phases.
Okay. So my question for your completion phase is, what happens if the person who did the thing, whatever the thing is, either dead or is somebody that is not safe to go back to?
Great. Those are great questions. Let's look at the dead person first, okay? Because I've had that. Many people, they come to me sometimes in their 40s. They have this pain all their life and they want to get help. So I have them go to the grave and talk to them, talk to the person and tell them what they did. One woman brought a letter to her father to the grave. She read the letter, then she burnt it. Like, this is the end of this. This is what I want to complete with you. And then she told him also, she talked to him as well. One woman her father she came to me. Wasn't able to sleep in a bed. She slept on the floor in her apartment. She couldn't take a shower. What she did, she used sponge baths. She wiped herself because her father raped her in the bed and he raped her in the shower. Okay. So we had to go back in time. We had to dredge up all those feelings, and he was dead. So when it was time to complete, she went to the grave with the knife that he would hold a knife at her throat when he was doing this. And she was stabbing the grave. I told her, don't, if there are groundspeople around, wait till that you finish, wait till they finish what they had to do. So she did that and she felt better. She couldn't have relationships before. She couldn't sleep in a bed. She couldn't take the shower. When she was complete with the process, she got into a relationship. She had children. She went back to school. She became a social worker, so she started to help others. She took showers, and she was comfortable in bed, and she raised two beautiful children. So it was successful. It was deep work, and it was really rewarding for me and for her as well. So, and she was grateful to it. So that's the answer. They go to the grave, or if the person is too angry and they're afraid, they could still write. They write letters to the person, or they go back. In my office, if they come in my office, some come and others are virtual all over the world, so they can't come in my office. But the ones that are in my office, they'll have them close their eyes and I have them visualize their source figure. It's a source figure, and talk to them. So they avoid the fear, they avoid all of that, and they still get the feelings out. That's the key to it. Getting these feelings out. I knew when I was young and when I was working with other people for the first time, if I got those feelings out of these human beings, then all of these things, all of what I call the diversions, they would evaporate. And that's what was happening with the work. So behavioral therapists, I mean, they only work on the behavior. So what you get is just the behavior, but it'll pop, other stuff will pop out. You get other diversions. So you might heal your gambling addiction, but then you're smoking and you're drinking, you're womanizing, okay, you're treating people angry. So if you just work on those behaviors, there'll be other behaviors to come out that are dysfunctional. And so I knew that wasn't the track for me. So these phases work, and it works for the people that I deal with.
Okay. So you said you did hypnosis and self-hypnosis.
Yes.
I'm guessing you don't make anybody quack like a chicken. So what does that mean for you?
Okay, that's a great question. I haven't been asked that question so in a long time. I like it. It's a great question because that's the old way of hypnosis. People thought, stage. Those are it's like a show. People put on a show, quack like a chicken, like a dog, bark, whatever. Yeah. And that was the old way of thinking. What hypnosis is, what therapeutic hypnosis is, it's similar to daydreaming. Okay, so first in the hypnosis, there's a method to first relax the person, calm down, so you could enter into a state of relaxation. It's like a daydream. It's like when you're reading a book, you're not really aware of the surrounding. Or if you're seeing a real good movie. When I see a real good movie, I love movies. I'm so engrossed in the movie, I don't know who's sitting next to me or what's going on. So that's what it is. So you're being involved in your inner mind. So when I take them back in hypnosis, I said, just go back in time now, once they're relaxed. And they go back in time and they feel it. They could stop at any time if they're really uncomfortable. At times it happens. When I first start with them, they'll say, look, this is so painful. I said, okay, just come back gradually. So focus on your breathing and come back to the room here. And that was enough. So, and then the person will try it again and then they'll get more comfortable. I never push anybody to what they can't do or what they're frightened to do. It just comes in time.
Mhm.
This is not something that I say people is quick and easy. It's not a quick and easy fix. It wasn't for me, but when I was doing this with my mother, and I had to confront my father also for not where was he, so I did all of that, and my fears of the dark went away. My fears of flying. I don't bite my nails. I'm peaceful, and so it worked for me. And again, it works for the people that see me.
Mhm. Okay. Are there any other stories or things that you
Hmm.
want to say before we switch topics?
Sure. I'd like to tell you a short story. I worked with recently an award-winning actress and songwriter and singer. And she had called me. She had seen me on a show on a streaming site, and she read my book. And she said, "Look, I've had a bad experience with therapists and psychiatrists, and I'm really in trouble. I'm hurting." And I asked her what the bad experiences were. She says, "Well, one tried the behavioral on me. It was not good. One tried EMDR. That was like a waste. And the psychiatrist that I went to said I'm schizophrenic and I need medication." So that wasn't helpful to her. So she told me a little bit about what. First, she told me, I asked her what's going on, and she said, "Well, I have toxic relationships. I'm drug addicted, and I'm also having out of body experiences, and it's terrifying me." Okay, and the
Mhm.
psychiatrist said, "Well, I'm schizophrenic, and you're hallucinating, and here's medication." She just walked away. So those weren't pleasant to her. No one was hitting the right spot for her. No one hitting the right fit. I said, "Well, what I'm hearing from you, these symptoms, I call them diversions, are the result of somebody hurting you when you were young. That's
Mhm.
my guess on this." And I said, let's go back. Tell me your relationship with your father and mother. And it was her father, rejected her totally, abandoned the family, never praised her, never loved her. And she always wanted his approval. She felt worthless, inadequate, not good enough.
Mhm.
And that stayed until she started talking to me. And what happened now over time, we took her through the three phases. The out of body experiences faded. She got rid of the toxic relationships. She stopped the drugs. She's back to her career, which is blossoming again because it was that was interfering. The diversions were interfering with her career. So, and she sends me emails once in a while how grateful she is to me for literally saving her life. So, it's a story that I'm touched by, I'm warmed by, and I'm just like doing this. I
Mhm.
like seeing people and I like helping them. So, that story that encapsulates a lot of what I do. So,
A lot of people feel how she felt, so I understand that.
right, I do as well.
Okay, so not taking away from anything you have said, we're going to switch to the business topic.
Sure.
So it is how to find stability in your business before you start to scale. So a lot of people are just like from the beginning, I can go from 0 to 1,000 at Mach speed and it'll just happen and everything will be okay. Then they get to a point and everything breaks down and literally breaks because they didn't have systems or like anything set up in order to go bigger, right? Because if you're starting from zero, you're using maybe an Excel sheet to keep track of some stuff. You don't have a solid plan. And then things break down because it's not being watched. Nobody knows what's happening with a certain function of the business or anything else. That can lead to tax problems. It can lead to other illegal problems for people, but it can also lead to your business failing. And a lot of people go, "Oh, my business, I don't know what happened, but it just all of a sudden it failed." That was the direct problem of not being set up to scale, of not having anything set up in order to have one employee, never mind the 20 you now have. And your processes as you start hiring people are going to show you where the cracks are. And if you ignore them because That's too difficult. I'm concentrating on this job and this bid and this job. Then you're always going to be on the back foot. And eventually you're falling over and you're bankrupt because you didn't take care of the things as soon as you saw the cracks. You tried to just let them go. Oh no, I'll be fine.
Right.
Money will just come in.
Doesn't
Sure.
work that way.
It does not work that way.
No, not at all. I understand.
That's exactly how the thinking is, though, with some people. Now, I'm not saying that every business has this problem, because a lot of people do understand that you have to you get to a certain point and you double check your processes before you go to hire somebody. You hire somebody, and then when those cracks start to happen,
Right.
you fix them. You go, oh, well, I thought I had this information for this process out on paper, and I don't. It's all in my head.
Right.
Telling you now, if your processes are all in your head, you're boned. Nothing is getting done. You're going to fail, because Susie over there doesn't know the 10 steps to your process, because it's in here and not on paper anywhere for her to be able to follow it.
Right.
And so there's a problem that's going to happen.
Right.
Things will get skipped, things will not be done, things will be done in the wrong order, that kind of thing, because it's not written down. And I say written down, and I mean it. Like, you have to have all of your processes very clearly defined. Like, job titles can be job titles, but your job descriptions have to stop being does stuff around the office, does accounting and other jobs as necessary. No, like, there's a list of things that accounting does. There's a list of things that the VP of sales should be in charge of. There's a list of things that the secretary should be doing, right? And if you don't have those like categorized and actually have information for each of those job titles, then the people who have those job titles don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And then they're going to end up doing, you're going to have a secretary who ends up doing IT work because they're okay with IT. And then they're not doing the paperwork that's needed for, the VP of sales, because
Right.
they're too busy doing your IT, because you haven't. Why does everybody wait till the last minute to hire IT or any kind of person who's fluent in tech without it being a secretary, or, oh, the VP of sales knows what he's doing around a computer?
Not good enough.
That's not how it works. That's not how it should work. And
Correct.
your IT person, right up until you piss them off like way too much, is going to be one of your most highly important people in your business. Usually they get treated the worst. They get put down in a basement somewhere and forgotten until, oh yeah, we're paying that department a whole lot of money. Why are we doing that? Let's stop doing that. No, don't do that to your IT people. That's probably the stupidest mistake you could do. Don't piss off IT. They know how to use your computer better than you do. But if your decision making, if your offers are weak, like, if any part of your business is weak, or it's not fully fleshed out, or it's not fully written out, it's going to fail. Not it might fail. Not this thing might not happen correctly. It's going to fail.
I agree.
There's no weak language you could spin on that and have, oh no, you can have like the weakest decision making and have a successful business. That doesn't work that way.
I agree.
Now, if we take me for an example, I have problems with decision making, but not when it comes to my business.
Good.
It's when something to eat it, what am I supposed to eat right now? I don't know. I'm busy. I'm not going to eat anything. It's fine. Or, that kind of thing, where it's real life is a problem. My business and my decisions I make in my business are usually solid. And if I find a problem with something, I fix it, because that's how you run a business. Other people can make all their decisions. They know exactly what they're having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They know when they're going to do those things, and they follow through. They're really good with all that. And then they get to their business and they don't follow through on anything. They can't make a decision to save their life. They're like, oh, well, it might be, maybe I should do it this way, or maybe I should do it that way. Maybe, no. Saying maybe before you make a decision is not a decision. That's a cop out. You have to be willing to say, this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do this. If we find a problem, we'll adjust. But for now, this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do that. And that doesn't mean, again, that doesn't mean you're like a piece of iron or something that can't be bent, right? Because you do have to change those processes as you grow and things start to crack again. Because the bigger your business gets, the more different you have to do things. That sounded stupid, but I don't know how else to say it.
I understand. No, I understand.
Because again, when you have 10 employees, things can be done one way, very fluid, and hey, we all like each other, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden you have 50 employees, nobody likes each other, nobody's trying to work with each other. You have to fix that. And no, those stupid things where you take your company on a bonding experience of any kind, that's never going to work. But you do have to get your people working together. I don't know how exactly you do that at 50 people, because I've never worked with a business that big, but you have to get your people working together. They have to see each other as people, no matter if they're in a different department. The CEO needs to treat the techies just as good as he treats HR and the lawyers, right? Everybody treats HR and the lawyers well because they're the ones who are going to come after you for not treating them well. They're
They
the ones
will.
most
Yeah.
highly likely to sue you.
Yeah.
While they think, oh, well, if the IT person has a problem, they're just going to stuff it down and it'll be fine. Yeah. Right up until they start acting like those postal workers from like the 80s and
Oh,
90s
wow.
who
Yeah.
went off on people, right?
That's right.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
I do remember that. That was horrible. I do. I do.
So, like, let's not become enraged postal workers. Let's not treat any department badly. Your secretary should not feel worse or feel less than any other department in your company because they're doing work too.
Agreed.
Hey, some of them people can type 200 words a minute, and you are typing with your finger, like one finger at a time. Like, let's not make fun of people for where they are in life, treat them badly, because that's only going to come back at you. The worse you treat your people, the more it's going to hurt, because they're going to leave and they're going to start telling people exactly how you are, even if they can't do it like in a Facebook post because you have that, you can't talk about us language in the offboarding. They're still talking to people, and word of mouth gets around. I mean, there are some things like if you remember back in the 90s, everybody thought that the singer, the scary one, who wore black makeup and stuff, can't remember, but I can't remember his names because I can't remember names. He did the Sweet Dreams Are Made of These song. He redid it.
I don't remember. I don't know.
I can't remember his name. Anyway, but everybody and their brother thought that he took out a rib so that he could have self-pleasure time. That never actually happened. But from East Coast to West Coast, there were teenagers that believed that with 100% certainty.
Mhm.
Word of mouth gets around.
Mhm.
Like, the belief in something gets around, and that's only going to damage your company if it's about your company.
Right.
And now, in the day of social media, people can say it about a company without saying it about a company. And like, I'm not going to say who did this, but somebody's going to find out. You've got sleuths that can take a black profile image and go, I know exactly who this person is. I know exactly where they live. I know where they went to high school, elementary school. I know who their parents are and what their birthdays are. And you're going, okay, I'm not screwing up on social media in the next 24 hours because I know people like that exist. But So word of mouth gets around, and that's only going to hurt your business if the word of mouth getting around is you treat your employees like crap.
Of course it will. Yes.
Now, if you get to be as big as Walmart, people constantly talk about Walmart. I worked for Walmart for over a year and a half. I can tell you they treat their employees like garbage. 100%. Now, that's my opinion. Let's add that part in there so I don't get sued. But also, my last name allows me to talk about Walmart.
It does. It does. Yes.
Even with no relation, my last name allows me to talk about Walmart because
Yeah.
I get asked that all the time, and screw Walmart. But I would love to have the money, but no, I don't.
Well, that's disgraceful that they treat their people that way. It's sad, and I don't like that. I don't
But
like
they're
any of that.
big enough that it doesn't hurt them any that everybody knows that they treat their store employees badly. Their execs and the people in their home office here in Arkansas, like a half hour away from me where their home base is. Because with my last name, I had to move here. But like they treat those employees a lot better. Right.
Understood.
So, but your reputation when you're a small to medium-sized company will make or break you. Especially if you're a small business, because nobody wants to have drama or have problems with the people that they're going to get a cookie from, or that they're going to get their muffler replaced if it's at a mom and pop, car place. Though I don't know that there's many of those places left. The big deal, like Jiffy Lube and everything, took over for that, and Walmart. But if you allow yourself to treat people badly, karma is a thing, and it will come back at you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but people are going to know at some point how exactly you treat your people. Things are progressing and, that kind of thing. They're going to know. There's no way they're not going to. This is a way too public society for people to not know how your business is being run.
Yes.
Stability in your business creates repeatability, reputation, and it creates the ability to scale. So if you have a good reputation, you have good repeatability, you will, and your reputation hasn't taken 27 swats, you will be able to scale a lot easier. You're going to have a lot better of a reputation. If you are one of those Fortune 100 companies that owns the rest of the bigger companies in the world, and actually I think it's like 5 companies that own like 1,000 of the companies we know and semi-like, if you're one of those, you can get away with a lot. They have gotten away with a lot. Should they be able to? No, I don't think so. I don't think we should be living in a place where 5 companies get to own everything. That's a little too close up to a monopoly for me. But I also can't tell people how they can make their money or what they can do with it because it's not my money. Do I wish I had some millions? Sure. Doesn't everybody? Wouldn't have to work anymore, except I would still, because it's a mental health thing for me. But like getting through and like having a lot of money and being able to say, I have a nice house, I have a nice car, I have nice people around me is great. But if it lands you in toxicity, if you end up thinking you're better than anybody else, you're not. Just none of those CEOs or any of those people who think that they're better than you are actually better than you. So when you start a company, if you start a company, don't go into it thinking, I'm going to be better than everybody in my business. Most people don't. They just get to a certain point and then they get cocky and they're like, hey, I'm better than everybody else because I created this thing. No, you're not. You just have more money than other people. That's all that means. And I think I have like convoluted everything. But do you have anything to add?
If I connect it to the emotional piece that I deal with, so I'll connect some of that. Because I've worked with entrepreneurs, I've worked with CEOs, and if one gentleman, who was a young entrepreneur, he was a contractor, he was building houses, and he also had a number of other businesses. But he was really struggling, and he started to have panic attacks, and he was disorganized, and his perceptions were off, his judgments were off, and things were collapsing for him. So everything that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't doing, and the businesses started to collapse. So I said, well, let's look at what's going on. What's the source of how come you rushed ahead with buying 20 houses and you should have just bought two? Let's look at that. He says, I always wanted my father's approval. I never had it. I thought if I was grand and making all this money, he would love me and I'd finally get the satisfaction. And I said, well, it's not going to work. We got to work on the feelings. And so he worked with me, and then he realized he settled down, did what he needed to do, organized things better, and he started to heal. So I look at the emotional piece of why these people, as you spoke about,
Mm-hmm.
are denying what they should be seeing. They're not organized. They're not writing it down, and they get hurt, and their business collapses, and they might say, "What went wrong?" So I look at the emotional pieces on that. That's how I would connect it, Nikki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. If you think that you having $1 million is going to make anybody love, you're going to lose that $1 million in about 0.3 seconds when all those relatives come out of the woodwork.
Right.
When they just start embellishing the fact that they might be related to, you're going to believe all of them, and then you're going to end up with no money again.
Correct.
So I had a mother, she's already passed, but I had a mother who didn't love me. And I have also had people in my life who are like, oh, well, she loved you in her own way.
Yeah, it's not nonsense.
That's garbage. Please stop
It is.
telling that to people. Because I had 3 other sisters,
Right.
2 of which very much for sure think my mom loved them. And that means that she treated them differently than she treated me.
Right.
She treated them and me different than she treated my youngest sister. And so there's a lot of different views on my mom and my family. And so, like, you can't get anywhere. Nothing you can do, nothing you've ever done will ever make somebody love or hate you. It's their own problems.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can't make somebody love you, and you can't make somebody, well, you can make somebody hate you by being toxic and
Right.
all that, but.
Right. When people dismiss your feelings and they say, no, she did love you, I mean, that's horrible. They're dismissing you. They're ignoring what you felt and what you feel. So that's a horror in itself. And it's destructive and it's dysfunctional. Also, you can't, no matter what amount of money you accrue, no matter how many boats or cars or houses or jewelry or rooms that you have in your house or Rolex watches, nothing, no material thing could ever fill up the holes that your parents or the caregivers left inside of you that you have to feel and process. Nothing that you do in life will make up for that,
Yeah.
which you didn't get.
Yeah. Nope. You have to make up. You make up for it in the ways you help other people. You make
Correct.
up for it in other ways like that.
Right.
Or you make up for it in the dysfunction that you put forward in whatever you do next.
Right. That would
But
be dysfunction.
It's 100% not your fault how usually, let me put it this way. With your parents and caregivers, it is never your fault how they treat you.
Right.
Because something and it doesn't matter if they were hurt. That whole hurt people.
Right.
I don't care. I got hurt.
Right.
I don't care what they were feeling. I don't care what their story is. They can
Understood.
have all the stories on the planet. No, they did something. Now they have to be held accountable for what they did instead of just said, oh, well, she loved you in her own way.
Yeah, that's nonsense if someone tells you that.
Very
They're
much
just
so.
dismissing your feelings, and it's really repulsive.
Yes,
I find that repulsive.
I have shut that down more than once.
Good.
Because her own way means that my oldest sister will defend my mom to the death, and we can't talk about people who are dead. And she didn't like well, then what about Hitler comment?
Right. So that's nonsense also when people say that to you. Yes.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about it for whatever reason they have. Yeah, but
Yeah.
right.
But, and so to wrap things up, I like your system, and I think that you're doing a wonderful job with what you're doing.
Thank you.
Also, if you have your own business, how you treat others and how you set things up will make it so that you can grow. If you want to make it the easiest on yourself, as you start making processes, as you start doing something, record it. just record it. Write it down every single time. Keep going and treat people not how you wish to be treated, but, the golden rule, treat people with some respect and go from there. They ruin it, then there's whatever.
Right.
But, and once that's broken, they don't get to have it back. They can go away.
Understood. It's nice to talk to you, Nikki. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you. Okay, so your podcast, let me see where we are. I think it's in May. I have to get there.
Are we still recording, or is that
It's
finished?
still recording, but I'll cut it off the end.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so it's the 25th of May.
Okay, terrific. I want to also say that I'm sorry what you went through with your it was your mother mostly?
My mother and my stepdad. My real father left when I was 2. It was a whole bunch of my therapist has 4 pages of a timeline of crap from my life.
Got it. So that was a struggle. That was hard. I heard it be difficult. So I'm sorry for that. As you said, you were sorry that I went through. Yes.
Yeah, some people have to go through garbage to live life, and eventually, hopefully, we get to a better place. And I am in a better place. I am living with somebody who is a great friend and cares about me. And so
I'm glad for you.
I'm in a much better place than I was 8 years ago. So
I'm glad to hear that. And for me, in some ways, I'm glad my mother treated me the way she did, because it gave me greater compassion. I could understand the people I work with right away. I could spot it. It makes me a better therapist. So I had something good came out of it.
Yeah. I just as like, this is not, I'm going to take all of this out of the recording, but I did have a therapist in Texas who annoyed the devil out of me because I knew that she had a whole lot of problems. Yeah. Because she would sometimes talk to me about her problems. And
not good, not good.
What is happening? I'm not supposed to be your therapist in return for you being mine. That's not how this works.
It's not how it should work.
But second of all, she just kept telling me, oh, you've just been through so much trauma. I don't know who you think you're helping saying that. All I wanted to do was stick a baseball bat to her head.
Understood.
But I met with her online, so that was never even like...
You couldn't hit her with the bat.
Yeah, I couldn't hit her with the bat even if when I wanted to. Yes. And I didn't have one to begin with. I'm not as worth.
Understood. I understood.
It was just annoying and enraging and frustrating to just be told, "Oh, you've been through so much trauma."
Yes. Well,
and I don't need to hear your trauma. Like what?
No, that's really inappropriate. It's unprofessional. It's a lot of things that she shouldn't have been doing with you. Right. Well, you have a good one now that you're
happy with? I have a great therapist now. Good. I've been seeing her for 3 years. And great. Except for like 3 weeks ago, we haven't had any problems. 3 weeks ago, I went supernova because of they moved buildings about a year ago. And apparently the room next to me, if there's a male with a deep voice, I can hear every sound through the wall. I have super hearing, plus the deeper voices carry through the wall for some reason. And the person who meets over there just annoys the bejesus out of me. Because first of all, I don't want to hear your trauma. I don't want you hearing my trauma. I have a deep enough voice that I don't know if it's carrying through that wall or not.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
The person is supposedly trans, but for me, it's you're a character of something. Like you're cosplaying being a female. Clip-clopping in tennis shoes down the hallway. Making about as much noise as an elephant. He got on an elevator with me and was giggling to himself. Creeped me straight out.
Yeah.
I was like...
What was he giggling at?
His purse? I have no idea. He was just giggling. It creeped me out. And then he followed me all the way out to the car because my friend comes to pick me up right at the front doors. All the way out to the door. And then he went over to the bike rack. But like, I was done. And then the meeting that the Nova happened at, he was in the waiting room with his legs spread as much as he could in the chair he was in because it had arms. And he was listening to his phone with the sound turned up with no headphones. So all of these things would have irritated me no matter what he was. But the fact that he was pretending to be trans also kind of added to it and pissed me off even more. And then I heard him through the wall for about the fifth time. And I was like, okay, look. And I went off. I am loud. I can get very loud because I'm Italian. And I started yelling. And yeah, he did hear me. They went really quiet and I think they left the appointment early. But like they need to take care of it. Like that therapist has been told that it's affecting me.
Yeah.
She was supposed to either move him to a different time or move her office to a different place when she met with him instead of having it right there next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have super hearing. I can hear this stuff and I don't want to hear his stuff. That's
Of course
HIPAA
not.
violation.
It is.
And so
And
like
annoying. And
everybody's been told and I'm just done with it. My therapist hasn't been able to deal with it because she had a fire in her apartment on December 15th and has been moving. So that's why it's kind of been up in the air through the holidays. But
understood.
I was like, this needs to get fixed. I can't be hearing everybody else's, stuff.
Of course not. No, it's
No,
not good.
not
No,
at
it's
all.
horrible. Well, will you wait till things are better, that she has in a place, apartment? Well, how will you do this
So
then? What will you do?
my therapist is mostly in her new apartment. She's supposed to be
Okay.
talking to the office manager and that other therapist again before I go to my next appointment.
Okay, good. So I hope that's more comfortable for you.
Yeah,
It
it's
sounds
just
not. No, it's not.
plus I have trouble with the holidays because of my history. And so I was actually trying to have a conversation with my therapist about some of the things I was going through. And all of a sudden I could hear him and I just went,
Yeah. Understood. No, that's not conducive to feeling safe and wanting to talk, and it's just really annoying and obnoxious.
And there's something I said really loud too. I was like, how am I supposed to feel safe talking if I can hear him?
You can't. You can't. No, I hope that's all straightens out for you really
Yeah.
soon. My
Okay,
best.
so-
And I hope your life continues on a positive track and it seems like it is. Nikki.
Yes, I am in a good place and I'm staying here. I'm not going back to the person I was 8 years ago.
Terrific.